So I decided to do this book journal video about my first book journal, just to maybe inspire someone to actually take the step and start their own. I wouldn't say that my first one was one of the best, and I did not finish, most of the ones I've started. This one I started in 2020, and as you see, it's just an ordinary spiral notebook. It is dotted, which are the most common one I've noticed, and it was the one I could get my hands on in my town because you can barely find dotted notebooks. There's a couple more to choose from now than when I started, but this was the only one I could get my hands on then, and it worked pretty well. I believe I also did for 2021 as well in this one, so I managed to fit 2 years in this small one. So let's go through. And I never did an intro page, but I imagine that was why I left this one blank. So my first actual spread is the books to read in 2020. And as you see, I only read 4 of them, and not all of them in 2020. I believe this the total, at least 2 of them. One I reread the year after, and another one I read the year after, and they are in another color. The rest of them I didn't finish. As of now, I have finished The King's Avatar and The Final Empire, and that's about it from these ones. So I still haven't read a lot of these books. So, well, that's how that went. My next spread is your typical bookshelf spread, and I did try to color them by the cover of the book. For example, with Warburg, it's mostly white because I got a UK edition, but it has a couple of rainbow colors in the accent, so I did a rainbow for it. I also tried to write in the title of the books in tiny writing, so I can barely read some of these, especially those on the dark blue and dark purple. This one, I believe, is Thunderhead. I can barely make that one out. So that's how that went. Then for my monthly spreads, I only did these. My title and the author, and these squares are for each chapter, and for books that didn't have chapters like the Discworld books, I just counted how many page breaks there were and went from there. So I did or page spreads, or I figured out some other way. And then the color for what I associated with the book, and I did this pattern for all of them. I did the NF 10,000 was of January. It did not resonate with me, and I'm a bit more hesitant to read another book by Alex E. Harrow. I no longer have this book, by the way. I did finish The Three Musketeers, but I can't recall much of it now because I did it in audio on double speed. But I do remember not enjoying it, which was a bummer because I loved the Count of Monte Cristo. Then I DNF'd all these 3. But I will be back for all of them at some point. And then a Stephen King book. So this is a summary by DNFs and books to continue. Jesse. Then do the same for February and Mars. It's a blank page. And April as well. And you can see for Warbreaker I did the rainbow thing again. I found it really satisfying to do this pattern, but I never updated this per chapter anyway, so it had no real function, I felt like, so I don't do that in my newer reading books. Then we have my first readathon, and this was back when the magical readathon was Harry Potter based still. It's not anymore, but this was the last year it was, I believe, and it was the first time I did it. So I did all the classes to be a metal charmer, and I did not have the ability to print all the covers, so I ended up painting them, and I actually loved it how this turned out, but I will probably not do it again. So that's a good one. Then we have May and June as well, and August when the news were, and then I just made a headline for which classes I read which books for. And these are, I wrote the Community Shells card for the book Monopoly, which I replicated in this book. I believe in future, next time I did this, I just printed it out because I managed to do that then, but I put a lot of work into just replicate this year's. And this is September, which was Monopoly, and you can see I did not read a lot of books. Then we have October and November, still not a lot of books. And December was the funny thing. So this was one of the reading books I did finish, kind of. I did not fill in the entire bookshelf spread, and I did not fill in these, so yeah, kind of stagnated when the year ended, but I did get to the end of the year and did some stats. Then I did this page for 2021 as well, and as you see, I did reread Gardeners of the Moon, and that I did get to the second book, and that all was on the first one as well, and Minecraft Islands and Mort as well. So I did a bit better with this year at least, but a lot of these books are still on my want to read list. I have since read The Memories of Ice and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, so, and Sleeping Giants as well. So that's 3 more that are completed from this one. So I'm rather happy so far. And for this one I did a smaller shelf, and I really love this one. I might go back to actually filling this one out when I get around to it, because a lot of are only sketches. I never got around to filling in with color, just to keep up. February and Mars, it's the exact same thing. And then we have the Monopoly 48-hour readathon. I really enjoyed this one. I was really tired through it, and I did not log the pages I read, but I did fill in this log, So I read a lot of Dead House Gates, and I tried to read Black Company. I did not finish that one, but I will be getting back to it. I read More Than the Island, so I got a couple of them because they dropped these prompts at different times during the 48-hour readathon, and it was a lot of fun because there were reading sprints all around the clock for the entire thing, and it was very ambitious. And I still kind of like going back to some of those reading sprints just to experience them again. Then I tried to do this mythology ton, but I don't believe I finished any of the prompts. I just did a spread. So yeah, that's how that turned out. I only finished one of the prompts for Morgan Le Fay. So, but this is my favorite spread of 2021, and it's the Revisionathon spread, and it's what was when it was in Rotterdam, and this was the logo for them. So I put a lot of work into getting this one right, because the idea is that the color which flag is pointed from Rotterdam in the direction where the country is. So it was a lot of fun, and I used the same symbol to make the flags for each one I read. So I read this book in Norwegian. Actually, it's a short science fiction, but it took me forever because it's in Norwegian, and I don't know Norwegian, but I can get most of it from context clues. So it was a slow read. I know Swedish, so I could infer a lot of it. So I know the story, even if I don't know all the details of what I read. But it was really intriguing. Then The Dubliners by James Joyce for Ireland. The Book Thief for Australia, because they are also in this competition, and I did enjoy this book, but I'm not putting it as high as a couple of others because there are a couple of books about the Second World War that I like better. I'm not going to mention any of them now, but that they had a bigger impact for me than The Book Thief did, even if I completely get why it's such a big favorite, and I do recommend it. Then for Malta, I read this middle grade, Mark of the Cyclops, which takes place in ancient Greece, and it's kind of a Sherlock Holmes and Watson story, mystery story. Then the Physics of Sorrow by Georgy Gospodinov, and this one's an intriguing read. Yeah, I do recommend checking this one out. It's very, how should I say it? Well, literature, abstract, I guess. I guess it's this boy that can live through others' memory and experience them as his own, and it's not always clear when or who you are following in the text, but yet gets all these small scenes through history, and it talks about it makes a lot of references to the myth about the Minotaur and sympathizing with the Minotaur, and then a bit about the impact of the Soviet on East Europe is in there as well. So I do recommend this book, even if it might not be the easiest to read. Then we have, Den 13 Gästen by Martin Widmark, and this is a Swedish book by a Swedish author, but it works for Russia because one of the main characters are from Russia. And as you might have noticed, I did the coloration in accordance with the flags. If you don't know how this readathon works, it's you read a book for each country. Either it takes place there, have a character from there, or the author is from there. And if you read a book for that country, you get the points it gets in the Eurovision competition that year. So you are collecting countries to get their points, and you don't know what points they are going to get until the competition is at the end of this readathon. So you have to finish them before then. So it's intriguing. You can wait for the semifinals to see which countries even make it to the final, and you get any points at all for, because you don't get points for the ones that don't make it there. But those are the same week, so you have less than a week to read any books if you are waiting to see just who will give you points. It was a lot of fun. So Silverchair for England, Musikpatronatet for Switzerland because it takes place there. Catch 67 is a non-fiction from Israel about, the legacy of the 6-Day War, as they call. I don't recall a lot about that one. Then Dr. Glass by Hjalmar Söderberg, Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, and the E.G. Colton's Elegance by Mary Burling. I can't recall the English word for E.G. Cot right now, but it's a very good book and the movie is great as well. I probably just put up the movie poster or something if I can find it, so you know which movie to watch, and then or go get the book if you want. Then we have May the Force Be With You, and I kind of satisfied with the laces, the saber I did. And I'm not sure I did much of these. I kind of just tied them in with the books I read for Eurovision-athon, and I did not fill this page at all. Because then I did this whatever you want-athon. So this was a colorful readathon, and I did like it a lot the first time, but then the second year, I believe, she did it, there was a lot more to do, and it didn't feel as free as the first time, so I didn't do it then. I don't think I was going to do it, but it kind of never panned out. So I only did it this year, and last year there were none, as far as I'm aware. But this was a good time, and I did finish all the 4 books I pledged to finish, so it was a success. And these are all those and how many points I got for them. So very simple, and as you see here, here's another readathon, the Enneagram readathon, which was something about personality test, I believe, something kind of that based readathon. I did not hold that one out, and I tried to do one from the Monday readathon, didn't pan out as well. It happened a lot. Same with tropical readathon, which is something that seems to do all year long. So didn't happen for me either. So I did not always have successes. And here is Becca's Bookopoly again. I did not do any board for this one, I believe. I just did use the rolls, and the prompt I got, and then the book. And here's Aurelium Novice Pass and the books I read for that one. And then Spoopalathon, where you're trying to escape a mansion. This is the first time I did something like this concept. They did something similar for a readathon in, I believe it was May last year, and it was a completely different experience. I was cramming books until the very end, just because the whole competition was that you are reading books to help you team escape instead of just you escaping. So that was a lot of fun, and this was kind of the precursor in my opinion. So first escape and second escape. I did try to escape 2 times from that man. Then we have October and November. A bit of color but is back, not a lot. And then November, I did finish A Higher Call. I do recommend that one. And December, yeah. And these prompts are for my own TBR game that I'm also not doing anymore because I'm too much of a mood reader I've come to expect. Then the last spread in this book is from the Reindeer Readathon, and I do love this spread with the card. And I did not come up with this idea. It was another reader that shared her page, and she did this with the lights through the text and down. But she was from a different team. I was on Stockings, so I did this background for myself because she had a background teamed to her team, so I did one for my own. So we did our own spins. I did ask her if I could do my own version of this, and it was okay, but I will mention it. I'm not going to trying to scroll back to find the name of her, but if she watches this, she knows who she is, and I'm just informing you that it was not my idea originally, but I got it from someone else. And the last pages are just printouts of the Storygraph stats, and not all of these stats are completely accurate because I'm not the best at tracking that kind of thing. But that was my 2 first book journals. So yeah, my next one was even less successful than these 2, and I might show you someday. Yeah, I'm definitely going to show you my 2023 one because I am kind of proud about that one. I just need to finish it up, and I will be doing a flip through of my 2024 one when I set up all the yearly pages in that one, because that's something I did for my next reading journals that I didn't really do for this one. So I did more yearly spreads for the next ones and less just readathon spreads. But if you want to just start and get into it, I do recommend something easy to keep up with so you get a feel for it, and then just try new things and get to know what works for you. For example, I realized that these tracking chapters had no function for me, so I only track books now, and I'm never doing this elaborate setup again. So, and I believe most of my next are more this kind of. I did continue coloring the backgrounds with color pencils, so that stuck. So to see, just if you want to get into reading journals and making your own, just make a basic one, maybe do the bookshelf spread and books you want to read that year to set up a goal. Maybe pick up a challenge or two if you want, for example the Buzzword Athon challenge, or make up your own. There's a lot of them out there. Make a spread for it and then just track the books you read, and don't be afraid to change how you track your books throughout the year. Maybe change it up every month just to get to try a new way and see which one works best for you. It's been a lot of trial and error, and my most successful year has been 2023. So I'm excited to show you how that one turned out when I feel like ready to show it. So I hope you find this kind of encouraging, because my first row into the reading journal sphere was not the best, but it holds a lot of great memories. So tell me if you feel like giving it a try, and have you given it a try, and how did it work out for you? I would love to know, and I hope you have a good reading year. Goodbye.